Most people think their motivation problem starts during the day. It doesn't. It starts the night the brain stops finishing recovery. And once you understand what happens in that night to morning transition, you'll never look at stimulation, sleep, or even drive the same way again. This episode is brought to you by my HarperCollins published book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. Learn how artificial stimulation miswires your brain and what you can do to rewire it back to purpose, intimacy, and connection. Go to drtrishleigh.com/book. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. I have a doozy for you today. So if you wake up slightly low, if you need input just to feel present, if sleep doesn't feel restorative, and if motivation feels dependent instead of natural, I want you to know this isn't discipline. It's about rhythm. Your nervous system is built on sequencing, and modern culture quietly interrupts that sequence every single night. We are the first generation in human history living inside unlimited novelty, unlimited nighttime stimulation, unlimited morning activation tools. There is no cultural off switch. The lights never go out. The feed doesn't stop. The algorithm doesn't sleep. We live inside continuous activation, and your dopamine system was not designed for continuous activation. I was just telling Declan recently how Saturday morning cartoons used to be an event. That was it. That was the window. My brother and I would wake up early, grab a bowl of cereal, and sit cross-legged, he's much older than I am, in front of the TV. And you know what we'd wait for? We would wait for He-Man and She-Ra, of course. Those were the days. And when the channels shut down at night, you probably remember this, the grainy off-air screen with the colors, and you would hear that low hum, total darkness, total contrast, built-in limits. And those limits, they weren't meant to be restrictive, they were meant to be regulatory. Dopamine evolved to respond to rare, meaningful signals, anticipation, scarcity, completion. Now it's triggered nightly by novelty, sexual signaling, scrolling variability, and reward unpredictability. Dopamine sets baseline motivation. It calibrates effort. It regulates pursuit. And when it's repeatedly spiked at night, baseline shifts. That, my friend, is the hijack. Now, sleep. It's not unconsciousness, even though it might feel like it. It's an active neurological sequence. The brain moves through structured stages. First, beta must decline. Beta is alert thinking mode, outward focus, task orientation. Then alpha must stabilize, calm but awake, the bridge rhythm that transitions you into restoration. Then comes delta, slow wave sleep, where growth hormone releases, immune repair occurs, autonomic balance resets, and cortisol recalibrates. Finally, REM cycles integrate emotional memory, reward calibration, recalibration, motivation sensitivity, and sexual reflex pathways. REM is where the brain finishes the story of the day. Now, here's what high intensity stimulation does before bedtime. It spikes dopamine. It elevates beta. It activates the reward pathways. After climax or overstimulation, then dopamine drops sharply. Prolactin rises. Inhibitory systems activate. Shutdown follows. You fall asleep quickly, but the sequencing was interrupted. Alpha never stabilizes. Delta shortens. REM fragments. Beta remains slightly or not so slightly elevated even during sleep. So it feels like sleep happens, but recovery never fully happens. It doesn't complete. That is the miswire. When we look at brain mapping data, we don't see damage, we see timing instability, elevated beta even at rest, reduced delta, unstable alpha transitions, inconsistent theta. The brain is slightly on when it should be deeply off, and it's slightly unstable when it should be integrated. That's why people say, I slept, but I don't feel restored, because the night didn't finish its neurological job. Think of it this way: picture a high functioning adult, productive, capable, driven, at night scrolling in bed, streaming, occasional explicit matter, alcohol to wind down, falls asleep quickly. In the morning, hits snooze, grabs the phone, coffee immediately, needs stimulation to feel engaged. During the day, they still perform, still show up, but energy fluctuates. Motivation feels slightly dependent. Sexual responsiveness becomes inconsistent. Nothing dramatic, just a drift. They think they need optimization. The issue isn't optimization, it's incomplete recovery. Sexual function is extremely dopamine sensitive. It depends on stable baseline dopamine, REM integration, parasympathetic tone, and effort tolerance. High novelty stimulation conditions arousal to intensity. Fragmented REM weakens recalibration. In men, this may present as arousal instability or full blown porn induced erectile dysfunction, not structural damage, conditioning plus unstable baseline. In women, it may present as reduced spontaneous desire, emotional detachment, or lower physiological responsiveness. Again, nothing is broken, but responsiveness becomes conditional. Conditional performance introduces anxiety. Anxiety increases sympathetic tone. Think more beta. Sympathetic tone fragments sleep further. The loop goes on and on and on. We have normalized stimulation and we've completely lost restoration. Sedation is called relaxation. Artificial activation is called motivation. We biohack mornings, grind through fatigue, override baseline, but we don't protect sequencing. Neurobiology requires contrast, light and dark, activation and restoration, effort and release. Remember that off-air signal? That darkness wasn't primitive. It was protective. When sequencing is restored, everything changes. Beta decreases gradually. Alpha stabilizes. Delta deepens. REM completes. Dopamine baseline recalibrates. So mornings feel different. Not dramatic, just grounded. You don't need extraction anymore. Motivation feels self-generated. Sexual responsiveness stabilizes. Emotional tone evens out. Energy becomes steady, not mechanical, not forced, not dependent. The body wants to regulate and the brain wants to restore. It knows how to, it just needs the right conditions. When you remove high intensity nighttime stimulation, you don't lose pleasure. You regain baseline. You regain stability and reliability. And reliability is power. A regulated nervous system does not need sedation to stop. It does not need stimulation to start. What it needs is complete recovery. It generates its own baseline. Performance becomes rhythmic, not mechanical, and you cannot perform consistently if your nervous system never finishes restoring. If you wake up low, if you need stimulation to feel alive, If sleep doesn't feel restorative, nothing is broken, my friend. Your sequence is interrupted. So when you restore the night and you restore your brain back to healthy baseline, you in effect restore your vitality. Okay, that's all for today, but think about it. And I want you to remember always to control your brain, or it will control you. I'll see you next time.